I have one practice on my plate, and it's functional. It's a functional practice, you know. That means it's performing a function. It's working. And that's to try to calm down my mind, you know, to get into a more appropriate rhythm for my whole being. And I have recognized that, well, I hate to use the term, but I'm sort of a classic red zone case via the dog whisperer, you know. If I get too excited, if I get too intoxicated, my mind will just race. It'll just keep going and going and going. So I have to keep that dog from getting too excited. And so when it starts to get excited, or times when it normally gets excited, I have to do the breathing exercise. 8-6-2, whoops, it starts 6-4-2, and then it shifts after a while to 8-6-2. And now I've added in a layer on top of that sometimes in which I do the element breaths while maintaining that breathing pattern succinctly, you know, right on target, I meant, like a metronome, right on target. I've also tried sort of maintaining that breathing, and imagine the rock, imagine the lake, imagine the animal, imagine the plant and the human being. That's sort of a layer on top of that. It's to tire out the mind, you know, tire it out, get it to slow down, get it back into its natural state. But the other big struggle I have, and that's this sort of unknown, which I'm just don't know, I'm seeking out an answer, has to do with these impressions, these emotions that stick with you, and they often are talked about as if they're sort of weighing upon the heart, you know, these emotions, impressions. I'm not quite sure what that is. I've been a little trouble getting a handle on all that. But I like to picture it the way David Less sort of talked about it as a gong. You know, you strike the gong and it starts ringing. And before it stops ringing, strike it again. Ringing, ringing. It's gong, you know. And again, just these emotions just keep going. Sometimes layered one on top of the other. No space. You know, we talk about no space in the mind, no space between the thoughts. What about these emotions? And I remember how we talked about a baby, you know, a little infant. You know, we're in a way always attracted to the infant, even though it has these emotions. And that gong will ring and it'll cry, you know, and then it goes to silence, and it's just refreshing. Maybe it'll laugh, and that's, of course, delightful. But then there's a silence, too, there. It's sort of hidden behind it and there. The baby, you know. Well, I've come up with an exercise. I won't glorify it to quite be a practice yet. And the exercise is to recognize when I hit the replay button. You know, I used to hit the replay button when I was 16 years old, and you know, and I had a girlfriend, and the replay button would be, oh, I've got a girlfriend. I mean, I could just play that one over and over again. I've got a girlfriend. Wow, I've got a girlfriend. You know, just replay it over and over again. And or something's, and you can hit a replay button towards the future too, you know. This Saturday I'm going to be with her. This Saturday this is going to happen. Well, the gong, right? The gong. Well, it doesn't quite work It's a little hard to get the analogy right, but that replay button, it starts to have a hair trigger, and you don't have any control about the replay. It replays things you don't want to remember. Oh, I feel so awful. It was just awful. It's awful. I don't know. The replay button, it usually goes to things, particular events, and then it goes back to just the feeling. The event is like the mallet striking the gong, and then there's the feeling of. And then the other way, it's the event is, oh, I've got this wonderful thing happening Saturday. Boom. And the gong is going, and it's a nice bright sound. And then it's over. Or it finally comes. Saturday finally comes. Oh, here it is. That was a disappointment. So the exercise is to write down every time I hit the big replay button. I'm not going to mess with the subtle replay buttons, the big replay button, you know when it happens, And I'm going to write down what it was about, just a little bit, 2-3 words, what it's about. I'm just going to write it down. That's the exercise. And yes, by doing it, I will be more aware of it, and I may reduce the amount that the replay button is happening, but I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to intentionally do that. I'm not trying to force it down into the box, I don't believe that works. Just like sometimes it doesn't work for me to concentrate on my heart. Concentrate on your heart. Concentrate on your heart. Sometimes it works so much better to concentrate, remember, imagine, be in front of Peer, and then my heart just lights up and I'm focusing on my heart, just automatically. The heart's there, I wasn't, it's indirect. So on my plate now I have a practice, keeping the mind in a natural rhythm, just 8-6-2s more or less. And then I have an exercise, writing down each little thing that happens when I hit the big replay button. I hope your practices and exercises are going along. If you get some ideas from me, great. Send me some ideas. But mostly, we have to follow our own advice, let's face it.